Good morning. Some follow through. Makes sense. No news of significance other than the government. They're talking. Kick the can down the road, sounds like to me. What they usually do. All right. So, as you know, markets rallied on Friday after reaching support down there at the 50 MA, and buyers came in, and it was a nice little rally up there. So, is it the low? Well, it's a hell of a good start, especially with today's gap up. But of course, where do we go from here? Well, there'd be jiggles. And so now we're getting this gap up and it's holding on to the gap. This is a bad tick. Gray area is the overnight trading. So we want to look at where there is higher volume trading, and that's up here. So looking at where this came from, strong move up, fluid move up, bar by bar. And now gapping up, there's a void down below in the gap up. It's cleared this resistance. And it's in the middle, kind of a nowhere, so to speak, because there's no support and there's no resistance. And look at the 5 minute, and it's just flat lining up there. So kind of a coin flip, I think, which way things go. I would wait for some kind of whipsaw that goes, maybe they whip it down and it comes right back up again before considering a long that it goes up there. It would be a heck of a move, hell of a move to gap up from after running that far, gapping up here, and then running up to the resistance area. It would be impressive. So right now, you can see my cursor. It's at the top of the red bar, give or take 602, 620, I should say. And I haven't looked at the cues as far as open interest, but I can take a look at that in a little while. We got a big red candle on the weekly, and it's bigger than any of the others. So that needs to be respected. And I have the same lines there. That's what those lines are on the weekly chart. But the trend is up. And so we talked about, I think it was this weekend. I did it in the letter. I don't know if I did it in the video or whatever. And we do a lot of stuff. Transitions from red to green. And I'll talk about it here. So what we need to look for, right, is here's this bottoming tail bar. And on a short-term basis, we did the longs in the green room there intraday. And so now, like here, this area is here on the weekly chart, and down here is a concept that we review in the courses, the transition from red to green. Sometimes we say red bars ignored. Well, we respect every bar. So whatever we think, right, in the moment we think of what is, that's all we have. And then we look at historical patterns and we look at what has happened in the past. That's the essence of what we do as traders using charts. And within an uptrend, we see the concept of a red bar being ignored. And we say, okay, red bar ignored. What does that mean? That means it was followed by a green bar, or it stalled and then it followed with a green bar. So the idea of the transition from red to green is, well, here's a big, nasty red bar. This big, nasty red bar. Well, there was a green bar followed. So in a smaller time frame, there had to be a transition from red to green. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen every time, and we don't know how it's going to form. I don't know if it's going to jiggle around for a few days. I don't know if it's going to make a big bottoming tail bar and then go sideways and go back up again. Right? One of the things we have to come to grips with as technical traders is we don't know what the future is. All we have is these charts that we say the trend is up in multiple time frames. That's a plus. A big red bar is bearish. Can it turn around? Maybe. The probability is it can, but then, well, the month's not over yet, Robert. You don't need to look at the monthly to say the markets have gone a long way in a short amount of time. So there's the weekly chart. What is the trend chart? Okay. Now, when you look at the monthly chart, you're just going to see fewer bars going up here. Now, we have seasonality. I don't remember a time that at Thanksgiving has been a down market or there's been bullish days. You can have down days. But September was supposed to be the worst month of the year, and it was great. So all we have is the past. We see what's in the present on the chart, and we make assumptions about the future. And if we were always right, we wouldn't need stop losses. So, but that's the idea of transition from red to green. And this is the beginnings of it. And now we have this gap up. You can see where the cursor is, and it's coming into a relatively stiff resistance area there. And I like to look at these on the day chart. So we know it's up here. Yeah. So we know it's up here. And this is the idea of a void. It's cleared this. But can it keep running? It's gapping up. It ran like it did on Friday. It's gapping above this area. Can it keep running without a pullback? I don't know. But historically, that doesn't happen. And if it does run up there, there's going to be a ton of sellers up there because it just moved too far, too fast. So that's what you take into the trading day today as we look at this chart, is that this has come a long way in a short amount of time. It's up in this area of what we call minor resistance, which isn't this as good as major resistance, but give or take, this is where prices are at, this minor resistance area that it broke down through. But, just looking directly to the left, there's just nothing there. This is more subjective as a reference point. But anyway, others are going to be looking at it, and that's where it is, give or take. So in the middle of this range, kind of keep going up. One of the things to look for is to see if you get a whip down. Say the market opens and it whips down and it rips right back up again. Right? On whatever time frame you're looking at, that would be an indication that it's going to go up, and it would give you a pattern to see what's going on. All right. As we look around, that's kind of what's out there. So let's go back to this, and you can see, look at the Russell. The Russell was like the laggard. It was at resistance. It was like, this thing isn't going to be able to go up much further. So we thought, except for Sam. Sam went in there and bought it, and it went up, and it began to outperform. And now it's gapping up into resistance. So the odds of this continuing to move up based on where it's come from to where it is low. Right? That's the assumption we make. Sam was high. Well, whatever he was smoking, Alex, I think we should, or taking pills, I think we need to get some of that because he was right. Right? So it's just hanging over here. This is not where we want to go long, for sure. We'll see what it does. I think the other scenario is it pops up there and gets slammed right back down again. And that would lead us to think it's going to go down, and we look for short setups. And so we're going to see how this all unfolds. Right. Here are the diamonds. They're gapping up a little bit, similar to what we have on the spiders. They got room to reach this resistance area. And yeah, same thing. I think we're going to get some jiggling around here. This government shutdown thing, basically, I think it's meaningless at this point. Whatever they're saying they're doing, kicking the can down the road until after the holidays so they don't have to take the heat to make a decision. It's all more BS. I think the bigger risk, or to drive the markets higher, is the Supreme Court ruling on this tariff thing. Whether some people think it's good, some people don't. I think whatever their decision is could move the markets. And then, once the government opens, I guess the economic numbers begin too. So we'll see, we'll have to see what happens. And so this is pretty much the same. Look at the spiders, and you know they're getting pretty darn close to the sell area, and they got a gap below. So kind of leaves me thinking not to do anything at the open, but wait and see which way it tries to whip in one direction or the other. Gather more information as to where things might go today. It's gone from down here all the way up there. SPX, give you the numbers. Nothing got hit on Friday, never even got close. So prices are up here. Let's do this. 6,700. You want to put a line up there. I want it at 6,800. So 6,800. Even though you can't trade this, you want to know where the whole numbers are. So 6,800. If it does keep going up, there'll be plenty of sellers up in that area just based on that whole number. And on the way down, I think 6,700. In between. Will it go down back here? I don't know. We'll see what plays out. But this put strike is down below 6,700, so that's good. And the call strike is way up here, so that leads me to believe neither one will be touched today. We'll find once some pattern forms on the intraday time frame that gives a more solid indication of a turn. All right, looking around, we do. I'll hand it over to Dan. Oil's moving up a little bit, just kind of hanging around there, sideways. Bitcoin bouncing off of some support there. I think that can continue to move up. So when we get these counter trend patterns, other than being a day trader, they're good for put spreads. Ugly patterns are good for credit spreads. Directionally, you say that, can this go up against the downtrend? Yeah, it could go up a bit, but to swing trade it, it's not, the odds really aren't in your favor. But for put spreads, high probability patterns, when you see something like this, 3 bars stabilizing and it's going up, short-term credit spread, typically going to be a no-brainer. All right, gold is moving, and that looks good. I thought it would go lower, but I did mention the pivot, and it was retesting that, and it's moving up. So gold and gold stocks, gold miners, should move up. It's backing off a little bit here, but that's a great pattern. Like, it's going to go higher. Silver is also moving up, as you can see. Maybe looks a little bit better. They're backing off a little bit here before the open, but they look good. And of course, we're going to want to keep an eye on, there's a lot of questionable things out there. Slop, financials, sloppy stuff. Regionals, I think maybe they can bring up the rear, but they're trending down. They've stabilized. A lot of things stabilize on Friday. There's plenty of stuff that looks really questionable or bad, like software breaking down. It's not like this thing is, jump in there. You can jump in there selectively, but it's not throwing a dart, that's for sure. Maybe some of these things that are pounded down. This is internet. So, internet software severely damaged. Semiconductors damaged. They held major support. So we'll see where this goes. That's what we do. To you, Dan.
When we got that reversal Friday afternoon, the green room knows when I came back, I was pounding the table on longs. I said that is our reversal right before our eyes. So we had a ton of great ideas in the weekend letters here, but that's one of these days. Stupid gap's gonna mess up our great trades. So I'll go through them all. But here's one right here, Vico. Beautiful closing breakout. I love when the 20 flattens out into a rising 50 with a void. And those are great setups. So that one's not too expensive, but this one's excessive. Look, this was one of my favorite setups. Buy setup, potent 180 reversal, but it's gapping up. Actually, I canceled it, but it's a Climo here on the 15th, but that's worth watching on a pullback. That's because that still has room to 250, I think. CCJ bottom right, another very similar looking pattern. So 96. Obviously we're not going to buy that at the open, but it's worth watching. It's not excessive to the point of canceling. CCJ. I'm going to take notes here as I go through these. Gulf Delta. Look, beautiful turn. All right, see, so that one's not gapping up too much. So this one, I'm going to say GD 5-minute high or gap fill. So that one is okay. Dollar Tree is okay. I see my 107 alarm on a Dollar Tree. I'll just reset you. Yeah, so that's good. So the alarm went up and it came back. Pega 59. All right, so that one also 5-minute high or gap fill. USAR was a put spread. And that one, I don't even see a gap. So that one's fine. I'll just reset the alarm. $17.46. So it is gap number. All right. So that one's okay if you get filled. Pico, we talked about. RYAAY. I see a gap here. All right, so that one's okay. Gap filler, 5-minute high. And actually, not Vico. Let's see, Vico, are we going to wait? 30.97. Well, it's okay. 5-minute higher pullback. So that one's okay. So those are all my instructions on those alarms going off. Oh, I missed one here. Triple M. Looks like it came back. This one was just a put spread. It's too sloppy for a buy setup. The put spread is fine. So until the weekly. So you all are watching us focus on our subscribers here, trades. Delta 20, lift long. It's sloppy, you don't, last Wednesday, we did a MT live on the void. And you see these other ones, the alarms I've been going through, how every single one of them had a nice void. This, I do like the red bar ignored, little downside shakeout. I do like the weekly. I do like the monthly, but you're in a trading range here without a good void. So I like it longer term. Just not now. I've been mentioning core long on the monthly. I think this month it looks like it's going to 30. Let's see, those. No, I haven't an alarm on a firm. We have a put spread on this. This was an earnings gap on Friday. This was a beautiful red bar ignored 180. Learn. Yeah, I've been watching some of these. A couple of these have gotten killed on gap downs. And finally, NVIDIA, I upped the stops. We did a put spread on that on Friday. Very nice gap up. All right, so we're busy here. On BTU, 30-minute high, I would say, Thomas. The continuation pattern. AEO, I like better because it has a better void. Yes, here's some resistance, but I think it has room to 19. So yeah, AEO I'll put on the list. And then yeah, Ford is on our list already. In fact, yeah, I gave it as a long, and my alarm has not gone off yet, so it's good to go. I was going to give a put also, but very little premium. Let's go to earnings here. There's not many, and I removed some already. B Bravo 3471. It's a nice gap breakout. Remember the flat 20 going into the rising 50 I talked about? So that's worth watching on a pullback. KSP 75. Maybe 30-minute high. So it looks like the start of a bottoming pattern. PSIM 88. And it's bullish. Just not crazy about the entry, but we'll come back to them. Part 39. It's a bottoming pattern, but there's no void. But if you can do a $35 put, I'd be all over that. Mindy 153 is getting whacked. We just gotta see what it does. Oh, that's a nasty gap under a green bar. Starwood flat bottoming pattern. Look how wild it is pre-market here. I'll set an alarm at 1850. MT 108 call spread if there's any juice. RDNT, I put an alarm at 7950. And buy setup and turn. BXSL 27 bucks. Bottoming pattern. Can watch on pullback. Triple H 81 and change. That'd be a good put spread. Howard Hughes. Hey Sam, do you know the name? Do you know the name of Howard Hughes airplane that also floats on the water? Bitted ear. Hmm. A lot of overlapping bars. It's called, if my memory is correct, it's called Spruce Goose. Write it down and Google it later. Uh, this was a buy setup, but it's following a Climo and it's gapping down, so no interest. All right, that's that. Let's now just go through the rest of my list here. Whatever we have time for, CCJ, we talked about. XOP and XLE were great, great setups for put spreads, but the spreads are asinine. Or else I would have put those in the letter. And I scanned the XOP. I didn't. Well, I have one in here. I forget which oil. I only found one I liked. An XLE. It's a great put spread. Yeah, it's up 4 bars at resistance, but put spread pattern. Mike Papa, gap reversal. Look at this. These things. A lot of these things have gotten killed. Look, 100 bucks down to 50. Nice 50% haircut in a month. So that was going to be a put spread, but no premium. HSIC, it's letting it go sideways another day or two. It's a bull rectangle. Dollar Tree, we talked about. eBay. Nice turn here. Nice turn on eBay. That would be a no-brainer put spread. I forget if I gave it or not, actually, in the letter. I forget. But if I didn't, then it's because there was no juice. But that is a beautiful put spread pattern. BNS alarm, Alex. We bought, yeah, we only bought a third on Friday because it was, should have done half in retrospect because that was a nice igniting bar. Affirm, up alarm, that's our put spread. But BNS. So BNS looks great. AEP up alarm, so that would be a clean hit. Big computers acting sluggish. Triple M up alarm, so that would be a clean hit. That was the put spread. All right, so I'm always going to be behind on Monday mornings with alerts. LDOS, man. Hey, remember like this ELF, remember? This was one that got killed. Bouncing here, but no pattern. Triple M. So that, yeah, so that one's a put spread, so that's fine if you get filled. AEP triggered.
I am flipping down already.
KMB from last week, I'm watching, that's selling on. Oh man, firm gripping. Um, it might be a target already. We got, oh, XOM, that was the oil that I liked. 66.61. Yeah, we're already at target. All right, so closing a firm at 10 cents, target.
Short TNA or the Russell under the 5-minute low, stop above the high.
Oh, firm got spreading. GDX. And I gave a half lot. Perfect. On that little pullback. 480.
An unfilled gap on the Qs at 623 and a little bit.